"Good evening, my friends," Davis says warmly. "Settle in, won't you? Tell me, where are you listening from tonight? And how has your day been treating you?" He pauses gently, letting the comfort settle. "This is your quiet corner now. A warm cup, a soft light, a moment just for you. Breathe, relax, and let the world slow down. Now then, shall we begin our mystery? January morning. Cold air, quiet light. A slow rise over Street Mary Mead. Nothing rushed, nothing loud. Miss Marple wakes early. She always does. Habit, she says. Age, others think. But she knows better. Her mind wakes before her body. It always has. She sits up slowly. No hurry, no strain. Just a steady start to the day. Her room is peaceful, neat, orderly. She likes it that way. She slips her feet into warm slippers. She adjusts her cardigan. She takes a small breath. Cold air from the window touches her face. She notices it at once. "Colder than yesterday," she murmurs. A simple remark, but she files it away. Miss Marple always notes the small things. She moves to the kitchen. Kettle on. Simple routine. She reaches for the tea tin. The familiar sound of the lid taps once. She likes that sound. Predictable. Comforting. As she waits, she glances at her knitting basket. Yarn folded neatly. Needles resting. A soft blue shawl half finished. She will return to it later. But not now. Morning is for tea. Morning is for checking the garden. Morning is for quiet thinking. The kettle clicks off. She pours. Steam rises. Calm. Nothing strange. Nothing unusual. At least, nothing yet. She carries her cup to the small table near the garden window. A seat she knows well. The one with the cushion she stitched years ago. She sets the cup down. She looks outside. Her routine. Always the same. Always steady. Her garden sits still in the mild light. Frost on the edges. A few winter plants holding on. Nothing lively today. But nothing troubling either. That is what she expects. That is what January usually brings. The quiet village matches the quiet garden. No footsteps on the lane. No carts. No chatter. Only a soft stillness. Miss Marple watches with a calm expression. She likes mornings like this. Clear. Uncomplicated. Logical. She sips her tea. She checks the lilac bush. Still trimmed. Still neat. She checks the bird bath. A thin coat of frost. She checks the fence line. Straight. Level. Nothing out of place. She nods once. Her routine helps her think. Her routine helps her see. If something changes, she will know. Small things always speak first. She believes this. She trusts this. She puts her cup down. She leans in a little closer to the window. A simple instinct. A small pause. As if something is there. But she does not see anything wrong yet. Not exactly. Not clearly. Just a faint sense that the morning holds something different. Something waiting. She straightens. She picks. Up her cup again. Calm. Steady. But her eyes remain fixed on the garden. She knows her mornings well. She knows her garden well. And today, something feels slightly off. Miss Marple steps outside. Cold air greets her. She holds her shawl a little closer. Nothing unusual yet. Just a quiet January morning. Just her routine walk to the garden. She moves slowly along the small path. Her slippers press lightly on the frosted stones. She knows every sound this path makes. Every small crunch. Every small shift. Today the sounds feel slightly different. Not wrong. Just different. She pauses. A habit. A check. She always checks her garden before doing anything else. She glances toward the lilac bush. Still neat. Still trimmed. Nothing out of place there. Then her eyes shift to the bird bath. She blinks once. Then again. Not quickly. Just carefully. Something is there. Something placed. Not fallen. Not blown by wind. Placed. A folded letter sits on the edge of the bird bath. Perfectly centered. Perfectly still. Not damp. Not bent. Not touched by frost. Someone put it there recently. Very recently. Beside it sits a pair of gloves. Dark fabric. Neat stitches. Good quality. Not familiar. Not local. Miss Marple takes one small step closer. Her eyes narrow just a little. Not suspicion. Observation. Always observation. She looks at the gloves first. People reveal themselves in small things. Gloves tell more than most imagine. These are clean, pressed, not used for gardening, not used for chores. These belong to someone who handles delicate things, or someone who prefers neatness over effort. She notices the fingers. Long, slim, male gloves. Not a woman's pair. Not in this size. She lifts the cuff lightly. She doesn't touch. She only observes. A slight scent drifts upward. Not local soap. Not village brand. Something imported. Sharp. Costly. Miss Marple notes it carefully. She places the glove back exactly as it was. Position matters. Placement matters. The person who left these cared about how they looked. Next, she looks at the letter, paper thick, edges straight, fold perfect, not rushed, not careless. She leans a little closer. The envelope has no name, no mark, just plain white, no dirt, no smudge, as if carried with caution, as if someone held it tightly until the exact right moment. Miss Marple glances around the garden, hedge still thick, grass still frosted, no footprints on the softer soil, just the stone path behind her, no other path disturbed. Someone placed these items quietly. They knew the layout. They knew her habits. They knew she would find them first thing in the morning. She looks again at the gloves. They rest too neatly. No tilt, no shift, as if arranged, as if someone stood here for a moment, adjusting them. Someone with time, someone with intention. She looks again at the letter. The fold is exact. Her experience tells her something simple. Careful people leave careful clues. Careful clues mean careful planning. She straightens her back, slow, steady. Her breath leaves in a small cloud. Something begins forming in her mind. A shape, a pattern, not clear yet, but present. Someone came into her garden. Someone placed these things. Someone who wanted her to see them. Someone who wanted her to think. She stands very still. Then she steps back once. Not fear, not surprise, just logic making room. Because now she knows one thing with complete certainty. Someone has started something today, and it begins with her. Miss Marple does not touch anything yet. She stands still. She lets her eyes settle. This is always her first step. Calm, steady, see everything before moving anything. She looks at the ground. The frost holds clear marks today. No wind last night. No warmth to melt anything. So prints stay. Prints speak. She listens to them. She sees the first footprint. Small, neat, pressed lightly into the frost. A single oval shape. Then another. A slow step. Not hurried. Not running. Someone walked with care. She follows the line with her eyes. The prints come from the side path. Not from the gate. Not from the front. Someone avoided the obvious way. That matters. People choose paths for reasons. She bends slightly. The frost around the print is intact. Edges sharp. No drag marks. No sliding. That means the person walked here early morning. Or very late night. Cold enough to keep everything frozen. She looks toward the lilac bush. A single stem bends out of place. Just one. Not broken. Just bent. Miss Marple notices small things. A bent stem means someone brushed past it, someone not familiar with its shape. Local people know to avoid it. Visitors do not. She steps closer, still calm, still steady. She examines the stem. Fresh bend, not from wind, not from weight of frost. Too clean, too recent. She nods. The person came close enough to brush the bush, but only once. Careful movement after that. She files this away. Patterns build from tiny details. Now the gloves. She looks again. She does not touch. Not yet. The faint cologne lingers in the cold air, not strong, not village-made, nothing she recognizes. Men here use simple scents. Soap, talc, nothing fancy. This scent is sharper, more deliberate, bought from a proper shop, bought by someone who cares about appearances. She takes a soft breath. She catches the note again. Expensive cologne lasts longer. She knows this from past cases. She now looks down at the letter, still folded, still untouched. The paper tells her more than the words ever could. Thick, smooth, high quality, London quality. No village shop carries this. No villager buys this. Someone travelled. Someone came far. Someone brought this directly. Letters like this do not appear in gardens by chance. Someone placed it with purpose. She remains calm. She has seen stranger things, but she notices something important now. Something small. Something most would miss. The letter is perfectly aligned with the rim of the bird bath. Straight, even, precisely placed. Too exact for chance. Too neat for fear. This was careful work. Very careful. Miss Marple lifts her head. Her eyes move slowly across the garden. Left to right. Fence to hedge. Bush to bird bath. Everything is quiet. Everything is still. But the stillness feels different today. Someone changed it. Someone entered her space. She keeps breathing evenly. Her hands remain steady. She does not rush. She never does. Observation comes first. Action later. She steps back once, just to see the whole scene at once. Her mind begins forming connections. Not conclusions, just connections. She whispers softly, almost to herself. Someone knew exactly where to place things. And then she pauses, because a new thought rises. Quiet, sharp, persistent. If someone entered quietly last night, they might still be nearby. Inspector Rowan Hale arrives first. He steps through the gate with careful footing. He always walks like that. Measured steps, straight posture, quiet tone. A man who avoids noise unless needed. Constable Bram Winters follows behind him. Younger, broader, more unsure. He looks at the garden as if expecting something to jump out. Miss Marple notices this. She says nothing for now. "Good morning, Miss Marple," Inspector Hale says softly. He removes his hat. Respectful, polite, professional. "Good morning, Inspector," she answers. Calm voice, steady manner. She always sets the tone. It helps everyone else think more clearly. Bram nods once. He avoids looking at the bird bath. He fails. His eyes go back to it quickly. He swallows. He tries to stand still. Inspector Hale notices the gloves first. He crouches, slow, controlled. He never rushes. He glances up at Miss Marple. "You didn't touch anything?" he asks. His tone is respectful, not accusatory, simply checking details. "No," she replies. "I observed only." He nods again. As expected. Constable Bram shifts his weight. He looks at the frost, then at the footprints, then at the bent lilac branch. He looks confused. He looks back at Miss Marple. "Do you think someone came in from that side?" "Yes," she answers gently. "I believe so." Inspector Hale stands. "What makes you say that?" Miss Marple points slowly. Not dramatic, just clear. "The prints are recent. Edges clean. Frost unbroken. No smearing. Someone stepped here carefully." Hale studies the prints. He nods. He sees it now. Bram sees it a moment later. Miss Marple notices the delay. She steps to the lilac bush. "One stem bent," she says. "Only one. Not wind. Not frost. Someone brushed against it." Inspector Hale leans in. He examines the stem. He nods again. "That fits." Miss Marple continues, her tone soft, her pace easy. "The gloves are not local. Fabric too fine. Scent not village, made. And the letter is London paper." Inspector Hale picks up the letter with his tweezers. He holds it under the light. He studies the thickness. He smells the faint cologne. He does not comment on it, but Miss Marple sees he notices. Someone wanted you to find this, he says. Quiet, even tone. A simple statement, not dramatic, just logical. Miss Marple answers gently. Yes. Placed with care, not dropped, not lost. Constable Bram looks at the birdbath again. He shifts nervously. Why her garden, though? His voice is lower now, more unsure. It trembles a little. Inspector Hale does not answer immediately. He turns to Miss Marple instead. He studies her expression. He waits. Miss Marple knows this look. He wants her reasoning. He trusts her eye. He always has. She folds her hands in front of her. Calm, soft, she answers with a steady breath. Because the person who left these items knew I would notice things others might miss. Inspector Hale's eyes narrow slightly. Not suspicion. Recognition. Bram glances between them. He senses something forming. A pattern. A direction. Miss Marple looks toward the fence. Then, back at the birdbath. Then at the gloves. Something quiet shifts in the air. A realization, half-formed, waiting, and she feels it now. A small, tight pull of logic. A new clue rising. Something she has not mentioned yet. Inspector Hale takes a careful step closer. He kneels beside the gloves. He opens a small evidence bag. He looks at Miss Marple once, asking silently if she saw anything else. She gives a soft nod. I noticed one more thing, she says. Her voice stays calm. He lifts the first glove with tweezers. He turns it gently. Nothing inside, just lining. Clean. Smooth. Too smooth. Labels removed. Cut away with precision. Someone wanted no trace. Bram watches closely. He leans forward. Not too close. Just enough to see. What does that mean? He asks. Miss Marple answers softly. It means the owner did not wish to be known. At least, not completely. Inspector Hale picks up the second glove. He turns it slowly. Still calm. Still steady. Then he pauses. A small crease inside catches his eye. He opens the cuff carefully. Something rests inside. Small, metal, cold. A cufflink. Just one, not a pair. A single piece. He slides it out with the tweezers. He holds it in the light. Miss Marple leans forward slightly. Bram takes a quiet breath. The cufflink shines faintly. Gold. Engraved. Initials clear and simple. R.L. Inspector Hale reads them aloud. R.L. He turns it once more. He checks the edge. He checks the engraving. He checks the weight. Miss Marple studies it without touching. It was placed deliberately, she says. Not dropped. Not forgotten. Bram frowns. Why only one? Miss Marple answers gently. Because a single cufflink suggests intention. It is a signal, not an accident. Inspector Hale agrees with a quiet nod. No wallet, no cards, no papers, nothing with a name. Miss Marple moves a step closer. She keeps her voice low. Yet someone left this cufflink. This one clue. Not enough to identify at once, but enough to begin. Bram looks puzzled. So, the person wanted us to know, but not too fast? Yes, Miss Marple replies. Just a breadcrumb. Something to start a path. Inspector Hale places the cufflink into a separate bag. He seals it. He writes the time. He writes the location. He writes the initials. He does everything carefully, but his mind is already working. R.L., he repeats again. Soft, thoughtful, steady. Miss Marple notes his tone. He recognizes the pattern too. Someone is guiding them. Someone wants attention on a certain direction. A controlled direction. She looks at the gloves again. Labels removed. Prints hidden. Everything precise. She looks at the cufflink bag. Engraving clean. Not scratched. Not rushed. A personal item for a personal message. Bram shivers once. He rubs his hands together. Feels strange, doesn't it, he mutters. No name, but initials left on purpose. Miss Marple answers quietly. It is meant to feel strange, because someone wants us to follow the discomfort. Inspector Hale stands. He looks at the garden, then the birdbath. Then the path. He breathes in once. Slow. Controlled. Miss Marple watches him. She sees the question rising in his mind. The same question forming in hers. If someone left the cufflink, then what else did they leave? On purpose. The garden stays quiet. Inspector Hale notes the details. Constable Bram shifts again. Miss Marple waits. She always waits. She knows another step is coming. Something or someone always follows the first clue. Then the gate clicks. Soft, gentle, almost careful. A woman enters. Small steps. Hands clasped tightly. Eyes lowered. Nervous. Hesitant. Miss Marple recognizes her at once. Mrs. Clara Winton, lives 2 cottages down. Widow. Shy. Avoids attention. Not the type to rush out early morning. Mrs. Winton, Miss Marple says kindly. Good morning. Clara stops near the path. She forces a smile. It fades quickly. I'm sorry to intrude, she whispers. Her voice shakes. She avoids the gloves. She avoids the bird bath. She looks only at Miss Marple. Inspector Hale steps forward. His tone remains calm. No intrusion, Mrs. Winton. You're welcome to speak. She nods quickly. Too quickly. Her hands tremble. She wipes them on her coat. I wasn't sure if I should come, she says. I didn't want to bother anyone. And I thought perhaps it was nothing. But then I saw people in the garden, and I felt I should say something before it was too late. Miss Marple gives a gentle nod. What did you see, dear? Soft voice, slow tone, enough to steady Clara's breathing. Clara takes another small breath. I saw someone last night, she says. Her voice stays low. A figure, tall, moving along the lane. Inspector Hale listens carefully. Did you see their face? No, Clara whispers. It was dark. They stayed close to the hedge. Very close. Miss Marple tilts her head slightly. Were they carrying anything? Clara nods. A bag, she says, or something heavy. They held it with both hands. It seemed awkward, like they didn't want it to touch the ground. Bram steps forward. Did they stop anywhere? Clara hesitates. She holds her breath for a moment, then nods. Yes. Near your gate, Miss Marple. They stood there for a long moment, very still, like they were listening. Inspector Hale glances at Miss Marple. A shared thought moves between them. Someone checking for noise. Someone making sure no one watched. And then, Miss Marple asks softly. Clara continues. The gate opened, quietly, not forced, not rushed, just a soft sound. And the figure slipped inside. Bram frowns. You're certain? Clara looks guilty now. I should have come sooner. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't want to assume anything. People walk at night sometimes. I thought it might be harmless. But the way they moved, the way they kept watching the windows, it felt wrong. Miss Marple steps closer and gives her a reassuring look. You did the right thing by coming now. Clara nods again. Not calmer, but relieved. Her eyes shift toward the gloves. Then the letter. Then the frosted prints. She shivers. Whoever it was, she says quietly. They knew this garden. They moved like they belonged here. Inspector Hale writes quickly. Bram swallows hard. Miss Marple stays completely still. Because Clara's last sentence settles in the cold air. Too accurate. Too revealing. Someone moved like they belonged here. But who? Miss Marple decides to step out. A quiet walk. Short distance. Nothing rushed. Her thoughts need a little fresh air. A conversation might help. A second perspective often does. She heads toward the lane where Lady Harriet Canning lives. A tidy cottage. White curtains. Flowers inside the windows even in winter. Lady Harriet keeps her home warm and welcoming. Her nature matches it. Miss Marple knocks gently. The door opens at once. Lady Harriet smiles. Jane, dear, come in. You look as though you need a warm cup. Miss Marple nods. Tea would be lovely. They go to the sitting room. Simple furnishings. Soft lighting. A tray already prepared. Lady Harriet always prepares more than she needs. She insists it is habit. Miss Marple calls it intuition. The two settle into chairs. A quiet moment passes. Then Lady Harriet speaks. I heard something already. You know how news travels here. Miss Marple gives a small smile. Yes, it does move quickly. Lady Harriet pours tea. Now then, tell me, what has happened in your garden? Miss Marple explains gently. No dramatic tone, just facts. A letter, a pair of gloves, a cufflink with initials, footprints, a late-night visitor. Lady Harriet listens with widening eyes. She sets her cup down slowly. My word, that sounds like London business, not village life. Miss Marple nods. That is my feeling as well. Lady Harriet leans in slightly. She lowers her voice. Well, speaking of London, there is a name being whispered recently. A man. Wealthy. Important. Troubled. Miss Marple waits. She knows the rhythm. Gossip does not need pressure. It flows when allowed. His name is Richard Lewin, Lady Harriet says. R.L. Miss Marple's eyes rest on her teacup. The initials match. Quiet confirmation. She expected something like this, but hearing it gives shape to the thought. Lady Harriet continues. He is involved in some business scandal. Something to do with a rival. Jealousy. Money. A deal gone wrong. Different stories depending on who tells them. Miss Marple nods. And his home life? Lady Harriet sighs. Not peaceful. His marriage is said to be troubled. Cold, some say. Others say strained. I heard his wife left London recently. No one knows where she went. Miss Marple absorbs every word. Calm. Clear. Logical. Richard Lewin. Initials R.L. Business troubles. Marriage troubles. A missing wife. A single cufflink placed in her garden. She places her cup down gently. Her mind lines up the details. Quietly. Neatly. One after another. Lady Harriet watches her. You're thinking something, she says softly. Miss Marple nods a little. I'm thinking the person who placed those items wants us to look toward London. Lady Harriet leans back. Her face tightens, just slightly. Do you believe this man is involved? Miss Marple doesn't answer at once. She adjusts her shawl. She looks out Lady Harriet's small window. Her mind moves quietly through each detail. Then she speaks. Someone wants Richard Lewin's name to surface. She pauses. Her gaze grows sharper, but I am not yet certain if they want him blamed or warned. Inspector Hale returns before noon. He walks with purpose, but not haste. Miss Marple sees the look on his face. A quiet signal. He has found something. Constable Bram follows behind him. He carries a folded coat in both hands. Carefully, almost stiffly, as if the coat itself might break. Miss Marple, Inspector Hale says. We found this near your hedge, about 20 paces down. Miss Marple looks at the coat. Dark wool, heavy fabric, good quality. Not village-made, not often seen here. Bram sets it on the small table near the garden path. He opens it. Slowly. One button missing. The gap stands out immediately. Clean tear. Not old damage. Not worn down. Fresh. Inspector Hale clears his throat. There were items inside the pockets. Miss Marple tilts her head slightly. Items? He nods. 3. He reaches into the first evidence pouch. He removes a folded theatre program. London Theatre. A well-known venue. A recent date. Miss Marple looks at it without touching. Someone from London, she says quietly, or someone who wants us to believe so. Inspector Hale places the program aside. He opens the second pouch. A train ticket slips out. Foreign station. Printed neatly. Stamped clearly. Miss Marple leans in. A foreign route, she murmurs. Not a local visitor at all. Bram shifts awkwardly. This was in the inside pocket, he mutters, as if hidden. Inspector Hale now picks up the coat itself. He lifts it by the collar. He brings it close enough for Miss Marple to notice. She smells it instantly. Imported tobacco. Not a village scent, not English grown. A sharper edge, distinct. She knows the type. She has smelled it before. A foreign smoker, she says. Or someone who spends time with them. Inspector Hale nods. That was my thought as well. Miss Marple then looks at the missing button spot. The stitching around it is unusual, not factory, made, hand done, small stitches, precise stitches, someone who works with delicate fabric, someone careful, someone with patience. She taps her finger lightly in the air. Whoever sewed this button on did it by hand, not in a hurry. Inspector Hale looks at her. You think that matters? Yes, Miss Marple answers. Hand sewing leaves a story. Factory sewing does not. She studies the thread pattern. Thin fibers. Clean knot. It tells her something small, but important. Someone cared about this coat. Someone repaired it personally. Someone handled it recently. And now the coat sits in her garden, near her hedge, with a missing button, and a foreign ticket, and a London programme, and a scent from another country. Inspector Hale folds his arms. This ties to the cufflink, doesn't it? Miss Marple does not respond immediately. Her eyes stay fixed on the missing button spot. Her mind lines up details, one by one. Then she speaks, softly. Yes, this coat is connected, and whoever owns it is closer to us than we think. She lifts her gaze toward the lane. Her voice lowers even more. And I believe someone returned last night to take something else. Inspector Hale walks the garden again. Miss Marple stays beside him, her pace slow, her eyes steady. She knows the garden better than anyone. She notices changes before others see them. Hale stops near the hedge. Look here, he says. He runs his hand above the leaves, not touching, just tracing the line. Miss Marple steps closer. She sees it at once. A section trimmed recently, neater than the rest, shorter, sharper, fresh-cut edges. This was done after yesterday, she says. Someone wanted a clear space. Hale nods. Prepared entry, he agrees. No breakage, just shaping. Constable Bram stands a few feet away. He rubs the frost with his boot. He frowns. It looks like someone made a little doorway, he mutters. Miss Marple gives a small nod. That is the idea. They move a little farther along the hedge. Inspector Hale spots something else. Scissor marks. Straight lines. Thin grooves. Precise cuts. Miss Marple studies them carefully. Not gardening shears. Not village tools. Sharper. Cleaner. A different hand. A different purpose. These cuts were made by someone used to fine work, she says softly. Someone patient. Hale takes notes. Bram watches quietly. They step toward the soil near the apple tree. Miss Marple stops first. She kneels slowly. Her hand hovers above the earth. She does not touch. Soil disturbed, she says. Her tone calm, flat, logical. Inspector Hale kneels beside her. He sees the shallow pattern. Someone knelt here. Someone pressed a knee down. Someone shifted their weight. No animal would do that, he says. Miss Marple nods. No, this is human. A visitor who needed balance. They stand again. They walk a short distance. Bram lifts a branch lightly. He freezes. Inspector, here. Hale steps over. Miss Marple approaches behind him. A small ink stain marks the bark. Dark, fresh, not smeared. Hale tilts his head. Ink? Yes, Miss Marple says quietly. From a pen. A leaking one. Someone brushed against the tree and left this behind. She looks at the stain again. A small detail, but important. People who leave ink traces usually carry letters, or documents, or instructions. Her eyes shift back to the bird bath. The letter, the gloves, the cufflink, everything connecting piece by piece. They move toward the path. A stone lies near the edge. Bram points at it. This looks odd, he says. Miss Marple bends slightly. The stone is scuffed. A sharp scrape across its surface. Someone stepped on it. Hard. A boot, not a slipper, not a shoe meant for quiet walking. Someone misjudged their step, she says. They slipped slightly, but caught themselves. Inspector Hale takes this in. He looks around the garden slowly. One full circle. Silent. Focused. This wasn't random, he says at last. Someone prepared this place. Before they left anything. Before they placed the gloves. Before they placed the letter. Miss Marple stands still, hands folded, eyes following the trimmed hedge and the scuffed stone. She feels the shape of the truth forming. Step by step, clue by clue. Someone planned an entrance. Someone planned an exit. Someone prepared every detail. She lifts her gaze. Her voice softens. Inspector, whoever did this, planned more than a visit. She looks toward the far end of the garden. Her eyes narrow just slightly. And I fear we have not yet found what else they left behind. Inspector Hale returns to the footprints. Miss Marple stands beside him. Constable Bram lingers a few steps back. He watches the ground closely. He knows something was missed earlier. He just doesn't know what. Miss Marple kneels slowly. Not rushed, not strained. Her eyes follow the frost pattern. Clear marks. 2 sets now. Not 1. 2. She points gently. Here, she says. Look at this shape. Inspector Hale crouches. He studies the print. Small, slim, narrow heel, light pressure, a different stride, a different person. A woman, he murmurs. Yes, Miss Marple replies. Someone with an elegant shoe. Not village, made, not village, worn. She brushes the air above the print. Not touching, just tracing the outline. A heel like this, she continues, is expensive, bought in London, perhaps abroad. Bram tilts his head. How can you tell? Miss Marple keeps her tone soft. Local shoes are sturdy, meant for muddy paths, meant for work, not for walking quietly through gardens at night. Inspector Hale nods. She stepped here, then here, toward the hedge. They follow the prints, step by step. The woman moved lightly. No dragging, no hesitation, just clean, confident steps. Miss Marple stops again. She lowers her face slightly. She breathes in. A gentle scent rises from the grass. Faint, but present. Perfume, she says quietly. A fine one. Bram looks surprised. You can smell it from here? Only a little, she answers. But enough to know. It is not a scent used in Street Mary Mead. Inspector Hale leans in cautiously. He smells it too. Thin, elegant, foreign perhaps. Miss Marple's gaze sharpens. Not dramatic, just aware. She reaches toward a small twig caught on the hedge. On its end, a pale thread clings to the bark. She lifts it with care. A thin, delicate fiber. Wool. Soft. Fine. Not common. From a scarf, she says. Expensive, likely matching the heels. Inspector Hale takes the thread with tweezers. He studies it against the light. Someone well-dressed came here, he says. Miss Marple nods. And someone who knew how to step quietly, how to avoid leaving more behind. But even the careful leave traces. Bram scratches his head. So, 2 visitors then. The man with the gloves and the cufflink, and the woman with the heels and the scarf. Miss Marple keeps her voice even. Yes. 2 paths. 2 intentions. Both leading here. Inspector Hale looks across the garden. His jaw tightens slightly. Were they working together? Miss Marple does not answer immediately. She looks down at the prints again. She studies the spacing, the direction, the distance. 1 set enters. 1 set leaves, but not at the same times. Finally she speaks, soft, measured. No, these steps do not follow each other. They do not match the same hour. This woman came separately, on her own purpose. Bram looks uneasy. Why would she come here alone? Miss Marple lifts her eyes toward the bird bath, then the gloves, then the trimmed hedge. There is a reason, she says quietly, and I believe the woman wanted to leave something, that she hoped only I would understand. Inspector Hale straightens. What did she leave, Miss Marple? Miss Marple turns her head slowly. Her voice lowers. I don't know yet, but she left more than a footprint. Miss Marple decides to go into town. A short walk. A calm pace. She holds her handbag lightly. Nothing hurried. Nothing forced. Her mind stays clear. The tea shop sits on the corner. A steady place. Warm lights. A quiet bell above the door. She steps inside. Mrs. Adelaide Moore looks up at once. Her smile is automatic. She always welcomes people with warmth. Miss Marple, she says. Such a pleasant surprise. What brings you out this morning? Miss Marple returns the smile. A little information, if you don't mind. Mrs. Moore lifts an eyebrow. Information? Something wrong? Nothing alarming, Miss Marple replies softly. Just a few details I'm trying to understand. Mrs. Moore nods quickly. Then sit, dear. Let's talk properly. Miss Marple takes a seat at the small table near the counter. Mrs. Moore pours tea. 2 cups. She joins her. Her face shows curiosity but not fear. She trusts Miss Marple's calm. Miss Marple begins gently. Did anyone unusual come in yesterday? Anyone asking about the village? Mrs. Moore thinks for a moment. Her expression tightens slightly. Then she nods. Yes, there was a woman. Blonde. Very elegant. Not local at all. Miss Marple waits. She doesn't push. Mrs. Moore continues. She came in during the afternoon, just after closing hours, really. I let her in because she looked so upset. Eyes red, hands shaking. Miss Marple leans forward slightly. She was crying? Oh yes, Mrs. Moore says, trying to hide it, but it was clear. Miss Marple's breath settles. A troubled woman, she murmurs. Mrs. Moore nods. She asked for directions, very politely, said she needed to find your cottage. Miss Marple remains completely still. Her gaze softens, but her mind sharpens. And she gave a name? Yes, Mrs. Moore replies. We keep a visitor log, as you know. I asked her to sign it. Just routine. Mrs. Moore stands. She goes behind the counter. She retrieves the small logbook. Old cover. Clean pages. She opens it and places it before Miss Marple. A neat signature sits there. Clear letters. Confident hand. Helen Rookwood. Miss Marple reads aloud. Mrs. Moore nods. That's the name. She wrote. Do you know her? Miss Marple shakes her head once. No. But her name has come up indirectly. Mrs. Moore sits again. And her clothing, Miss Marple, not like anything from here. She wore a coat with luxury buttons. Silver. Patterned edges. Hand-stitched. Miss Marple's eyes narrow a touch. The same type missing from the overcoat found in my garden. Mrs. Moore gasps softly. You don't say? Miss Marple nods. It matches too neatly to ignore. Mrs. Moore folds her hands. I knew she wasn't just passing through. Her face, Miss Marple. She looked frightened of something. Or someone. Miss Marple closes the logbook gently. That may be why she came to find me. She stands slowly. Her voice lowers. And if she needed my help yesterday, then there is something she intended to leave that we have not discovered yet. She turns toward the door. Her mind connects threads quietly. Helen Rookwood. Elegant shoes. A luxury button. A tearful visit. A missing wife. A hidden message. Something waits. Something close. Something she must find. Inspector Hale arrives in the late afternoon. His steps are firm. His coat is slightly damp from the cold air. Miss Marple opens the door before he can knock twice. She reads the look on his face. He has news. Important news. May I come in, Miss Marple? He asks. Of course, Inspector. She leads him into the sitting room. Simple space. Warm fire. The calm atmosphere helps him steady his thoughts. He removes his hat. He sits. He exhales slowly. I've just returned from London, he says. His voice stays level. But the weight of information rests behind every word. Miss Marple folds her hands neatly. She waits. She always lets him begin at his own pace. Inspector Hale opens a small notebook. Richard Lewin, he says. Prominent businessman. Wealthy. Widely connected. Miss Marple nods gently. The initials match. Yes, Hale continues. His dealings reach beyond England. Foreign partners, foreign markets, and foreign troubles. He turns a page. There is a rivalry, a deep one, old business complications, arguments, threats, money disputes, a history of tension. Miss Marple listens quietly. Her eyes stay focused. Her mind takes each point and places it neatly beside the next. The rivalry escalated last month, Hale says. London officers believe it led to certain consequences. He stops there. He watches her face. She nods for him to continue. Richard Lewin is married, he says, but not happily. Reports describe the marriage as strained, cold, unstable. Miss Marple lifts an eyebrow. Do they know why? Hale nods slowly. There were arguments, frequent, small things at first, but growing. His work consumed him. His travels increased. She felt isolated. He felt pressured. Miss Marple responds softly. A marriage that weakens quietly can break suddenly. Inspector Hale agrees. And 2 days ago, Helen Rookwood, his wife, disappeared. Miss Marple remains still, not surprised, only more certain of the path forming in her mind. Left London without a trace, Hale says. No carriage ordered, no ticket purchased under her name, no letter left behind. Miss Marple speaks calmly, but she did leave something. Here, in Street Mary Mead. Hale nods. She used the name Helen Rookwood in the tea shop. She asked for you. She looked frightened. He closes the notebook gently. London suspects a scandal, or a flight, or even foul play. Rumors are spreading. Some say she ran from her husband. Others say someone forced her out. No one agrees. Miss Marple takes a slow breath. And now she has walked through my garden. Yes, Hale says, and that means she trusted you, or needed you, or feared someone else more. Miss Marple looks toward the window. Evening light settles outside. Cold. Still. Quiet. Helen came here for a reason, she murmurs. A very specific reason. Inspector Hale waits. What reason do you believe that is? Miss Marple's voice lowers. I believe she left one more clue nearby. Something we have not yet seen. Miss Marple sits quietly in her armchair. Inspector Hale has left for the moment. Constable Bram has followed him out. The cottage is still. The fire burns evenly. Everything is calm, but her thoughts move steadily. She looks at the small table beside her. The evidence bags rest there. The gloves, the cufflink, the folded letter, the thread from the scarf. Each item sits in its own place. Each item carries its own story. She begins to line them up mentally, one by one, piece by piece. No rush, no guessing, just connections. She starts with the footprints, a woman's heels, slim, elegant, a London style, a careful step, a perfume trace, a scarf thread, a frightened visit to the tea shop, a name signed in the logbook. Helen Rookwood, then the cufflink, found inside the glove. Initials, R.L. Richard Lewin, her husband, wealthy, connected to foreign business, involved in rivalry, a troubled marriage, a missing wife. The gloves themselves, deliberately placed, not dropped, not lost. A neat arrangement. Someone wanted her to see them. The letter, London paper, expensive, folded with care, positioned carefully on the bird bath. An invitation of sorts, a silent message. Miss Marple touches none of the objects. Her hands stay in her lap. Her mind does the work. Everything fits a shape. A pattern. 2 sets of footsteps, 2 different styles, 2 different visitors, both entering her garden, both on the same night, not together, not following each other, separate intentions, separate paths. She whispers to herself. One came to hide, one came to reveal. The theory grows clearer. The man's clues, the gloves, the cufflink, the overcoat, the foreign ticket, the theatre program, the smell of imported tobacco. These were staged, arranged, planned. The woman's clues, the heels, The perfume, the thread, the visit to the tea shop, the worried eyes, the quiet request for directions. These were emotional, honest, uncontrolled. Miss Marple nods softly. Yes, she murmurs. 2 intentions, 2 messages, but only one garden. She sits back. Her shawl settles gently on her shoulders. There is nothing mystical here, nothing dramatic, only logic. Quiet, steady logic. Someone wanted her to uncover the truth, indirectly, quietly, safely. Someone else wanted to shape the story, guide suspicion, point the attention away, or toward a controlled target. The man staged the scene, she says calmly. The woman left the traces she could not hide. It all aligns now, not fully, but enough to build a clear path. Someone is using her garden as a message board, a private place, a safe place, a chosen place. She rises from her chair, slow, measured. Her eyes lift toward the window. Evening settles outside again, quiet, still. There is one more thing, she whispers. One more piece someone wanted me to find. She reaches for her coat. Because now she knows. There is something hidden in the garden that none of them have uncovered yet. Miss Marple stands at her window. She looks toward the hedge again. Her thoughts settle into place. Calm. Orderly. Certain. Helen Rookwood came alone. That much is clear now. Her footprints showed no companion. Her steps were light. Careful. Not guided. Not followed. She lost a button near the hedge. A small detail. But a truthful one. A frightened woman does not think of every thread. Fear leaves traces. So does desperation. Helen placed the gloves on purpose. Miss Marple sees this now. The gloves were arranged. Not dropped. Not forgotten. A message. A signal. A request made without words. Helen wanted Miss Marple to investigate. She knew the police would question her. She knew London gossip would spread. She knew her own name would bring suspicion, so she avoided the authorities. She sought the one person who sees quietly, who thinks gently, who listens without judgment. Her motive is emotional, desperate, urgent, a plea wrapped inside small clues, a wife in trouble, a life unraveling, a fear too large to carry alone. Miss Marple breathes slowly. She knows now. Helen left one more truth waiting to be found. Miss Marple steps into her garden once more. Evening light settles quietly over the path. The hedge stands still. The bird bath remains untouched. Everything looks calm, but her mind does not rest. She holds her hands together. She studies the frost, the footprints, the trimmed hedge, the scuffed stone, each detail steady, each detail deliberate. She lifts her gaze toward the far corner of the far garden. Something unseen presses against her thoughts. A pattern she feels rather than sees. Someone has shaped this. Someone has guided her steps since dawn. She speaks softly, almost to herself. Someone is guiding me with clues, but I still cannot tell whether I follow truth or a trap. Her eyes remain fixed on the hedge. A quiet breath leaves her, because she knows. The next clue is already waiting. Davis returns with a warm smile in his voice. Thank you for joining me tonight, my friends. Tell me, what detail did you notice first? And where are you listening from this evening? He pauses gently, inviting calm conversation. Share your thoughts below. I always enjoy reading them. A soft breath. And tomorrow, we open a new mystery together. Tomorrow, another kettle will boil. The night settles gently over the village. Windows dim. Paths fall silent. Miss Marple closes her door, though her thoughts remain open. A calm breath moves through her cottage. And somewhere in the village, she murmurs, another quiet secret waits.